The key area where marriage matters, and now this is what I like to let clients know, is it's not that the government needs to tell you, oh, you're married, so that you can now be happy that you're married. No, you guys were living together or doing your things together. The issue is the legal consequences of that relationship. Yeah. So marriage is both a social contract and a legal contract.
I like that.
Yeah, social in the sense that we're living together. We've told our parents, we've told our friends, everyone knows we are together, right? But it's a legal contract in that the moment I sign that certificate, legal consequences ensue. Legal consequences in terms of how property will be owned from here. Legal consequences in terms of parental responsibility for the children of this marriage. Legal consequences in terms of succession, which is where the key issue comes in. If one of us was to pass on, who takes care of the assets of this person?
So these are some of the information we are going to have with my guest, who is about to introduce herself. Karibuni sana guys to Marriage is a Scam with a Cherry on Top. My name is Getrude.
are basic tenets, that rites of passage that you must do, so that now the elders pronounce this as a marriage. And interesting to know, when the Marriage Act was being promulgated, the 2014-2015 Marriage Act, I'm not remembering the exact dates, all the elders from all the communities were called by the Registrar of Marriages in the Public Participation Forum, and they were asked to give comments about how their customary marriages are done. So this, when you're coming to register your customary marriage with the Registrar of Marriages, the Registrar will conduct an oral interview to confirm what was done. The Registrar will ask for documentation, because fun fact I didn't know is that all communities in Kenya record their marriage rights. So I know for Kikuyu culture, mine were recorded in a book that is kept with the wazes, but now it actually happens in every community. All the communities record their stuff.
In some sort of paper.
Some sort of paper or a book.
I don't know, it's supposed to be filed.
Yeah. So the registrar, of course, it's confidential. So the registrar, at the point you're coming to register, will ask, bring forward documentation to prove that. Yeah.
Okay.
You will do that, and then of course the registrar is aware of, say for instance, if it's a Kikuyu marriage, she knows because of that process. They know what Kikuyu marriage, the basic tenets are. So once the registrar is satisfied that you have actually achieved the basic tenets of that custom, then a certificate will be issued. So if you're claiming to be in a customary marriage, you should actually also have a certificate of registration. But what we are seeing now, because the law is one thing and the reality on the ground is another, what we are seeing is, after the Marriage Act was promulgated, the registrar gave a notice to everyone who had procured a customary marriage and said you had 6 months to come and register. Some people came, some did not come. As late as yesterday, I was in court with someone who was trying to allege that they're in a customary marriage, and when the judge questioned about the section that requires you to register, I said, "You've never registered." And the judge said, we're going to have to enforce the law strictly. So we expect to see this being tested more. Earlier this year, we had a case, I think it's called the MNK. You know, when it comes to the divorce matters and such things, the law doesn't state the full names. The names of the people are hidden, so we state them in initials. So there's a case, I think MNK versus POM or something like that, that went all the way to the Supreme Court regarding whether, now this is another type of marriage, it's called a presumption of marriage, or what you may have had called a stay, or what you may have had called a common law marriage, all of that. So in some instances, because our courts are also courts of equity, if someone has stayed too long, for a very long time, if certain circumstances are met, the court can presume a marriage. The key word here is presumption. And you're at the mercy of the court. The court looks at the specific circumstances of that case and decides, based on what I'm seeing, this is actually a marriage. It's not a marriage under the Marriage Act, any of the 5 I've listed, but we are presuming it a marriage. So they presume it a marriage, and therefore the legal consequences of marriage come, and therefore this person was claiming to be a spouse in succession, or this person was claiming a right to matrimonial property against that right. But recently, I was telling you about this case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in this matter said that's not a presumption, despite how long these guys had lived together. And it set out some things that it wants to look at. Let me just read them out for you. So the Supreme Court recently this is a 2023 decision, so it's very recent. The Supreme Court said that, so we find that it is prudent at this juncture to lay out the strict parameters within which a presumption of marriage can be made. Number 1, the parties must have lived together for a long period of time. So what we've seen in jurisprudence is different judges take different periods as long. So you'll find someone has been together 25 years and the judge still holds. It's not. Someone else was 10 years, but the judge holds the circumstances that it was long enough. So you're putting yourself at the mercy of the court when you could have just made this decision. Number 2, the parties must have the legal right and capacity to marry. So what you were saying, if someone had procured a marriage under civil law or Christian law and therefore does not have legal capacity to procure another marriage, another person who has been staying with him, coming to court to claim that this person is his husband, will be told by the court that person never had capacity. So we cannot presume that marriage. You see how the law is up there, but it applies directly to you wherever you are. So it can be very tough. The third thing is that the parties must have intended to marry, and this is big, because the Supreme Court, again in another matter called Ogentoto versus Ogentoto, said that the law is actually where the money came from, that marriage is a legal contract. And the thing about a contract is intention. Intention is a key tenet of intention to bind, is a key tenet of any contract. Now, you coming to prove that I intended to marry, I'll just come to court and say I never intended to marry, therefore it cannot be presumed So do you see how it becomes very problematic to presume a marriage?
We need a certificate. That's the only thing which is going to save us.
Yeah, so I can go on to read the list, but it just gets worse from there. There must be consent by both parties. So the guy will just say, "We not consent," so you don't have a presumed marriage. The parties must have held themselves out to the world as being a married couple, which can be contested if he was married under any other regime of law. And then the onus of proving is on the party who alleges it. You who are claiming I married you, you prove that I married you, when me I'm here saying I never married you. So the standard of proof is a balance of probabilities, and the evidence to rebut the presumption has to be strong, distinct, and satisfactory and conclusive. So what am I saying? In a nutshell, I'm saying this. Stays used to be proved as presumption of marriage. But since the Marriage Act came into place, that's no longer the position. Presuming a marriage is now
God, so many people are going to be in trouble. But they have time. They have time to go and register.
Yeah.
You don't even need to
customary marriage.
You know what? I'm thinking this has been a lot of information. It will only be fair if we chambua, in other words, one marriage at a time.
Yes, yeah.
So that whoever is watching this, you know which marriage you're falling. If you're coming staying, if you've been married, you're in a customary marriage, or in a mostly marriage. I know we don't have a lot of information, but it's pretty simple. Kadhi has to be involved. You can't just decide, mumepika pilau na mukakata keki and you married.
Yeah.
Kadhi has to be involved, just like you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we need to wrap this up, and then we come back. We're doing a series on this. We come back and then we can talk about one marriage at a time. And then the kids, you know, like I'm even thinking, the kids who are born out of wedlock. And some are before the people got married and after. And some, unfortunately, during. How do we handle this? Because they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. Asanteni sana, Diana.
Yes.
I'm so glad you're coming back again.
Okay.
For another episode. And keep it here. I promise you guys, I've been promising you this for a very long time. Now we are here and we're talking about marriages. We want you to make the right decision from an informed point of view. Asante sana, my name is Getrude Mungai. I'm a lifestyle designer on sex and relationship, and this is Marriage is a Scam with a cherry on top.